All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Millett, the one. And this is the quarantine stream. This is the 53rd such broadcast that we have done. Very exciting. And let us now hear the ever wonderful, ever lovely, ever glorious, ever charming, ever melodious, ever graceful, ever inspirational, ever green quarantine stream theme. Beautiful. Ah, yes. Before we get started, a little public service announcement. This is an apple. This is an apple. I think we can all see that. This, no, there we go. This is an apple. This is from the latest book, Apples and Ice Swimming Together in Soapy Water. This is, of course, called Transformacion. Gull-wing gold leaf ivory elevator doors open to reveal a portrait of an orchard, saying, "This wicker basket contains every memory you've ever had, so if you've got a purple number, come over, pull out a slip, and start to reminisce." Me and my sister playing parlor tricks in the back seat while Dad turns up the radio to drown us out. Then he leans down, increasing speed on the way to the dog show. Come over, and pull out another favorite. Semifinalists in the quarterfinals of our school district's annual spelling bee, and I got here on an easy word: charisma. Afterward, we went out for ice cream cake. Even though Mom wanted bagels, we let her hold the trophy as something of a meta-text consolation prize. Transformacion! The baby blue lagoon gull-wing elevator doors open to a balloon crooning in a soprano profundo. Today, you're in a classroom sitting in between a magic wand and a sprinkler behind a rhinoceros, and in front of a stethoscope ready to make toothpaste out of razors, lipstick, and hairspray. Today, you're in the classroom, and your substitute teacher is Adelina, 102-year-old oak tree, and you're making birthday presents for her best friend, ready to make nylons out of eyeliner and passport pages filled with strips of horse-shaped signatures. Transformacion! The pleated red vinyl elevator door opens to reveal a singing taxi. Today it's your birthday, and you get breakfast in bed, driven on star-shaped black and white television set, blinking lights on the pillow heads, milk on a blue and white dress. Today it's your birthday, and you get a pink and blue book with blank pages to fill in with drawings of budgies and juice boxes, rainbows over razors, crisp bubble gum in between mint baseball cards. The gold-winged gold leaf ivory elevator doors open to reveal a portrait of an orchard transplanted to a beach. Today you're on taking a surfboard out of a small bus while watching a girl pick up the wallet that fell out of her purse. While your head is plate glass, your arms are oars, and your hands are rafts. Today you're making videos on the boardwalk of people roller skating while holding umbrellas or eating ice cream off towels, while your mouth is a string swimming in circles while daylight is young, and they intend to dream to visit a playa full of pleasant blang tones rhyming ever so tinily and wranglily, and something misheard and turned into a quiet joke among monks and either brethering Einfell. This is called Investigating Mitsy. All right. Beautiful. All right. She rides around the merry-go-round wearing satin slippers, chewing pink peppercorns. Her eyes are a miracle in the way they paint names in the minds of rain clouds. The lightning reaches out to introduce itself. The Queen of Atlantis draws filigree for the king while he's taking his bath. Bristling lips kiss the teeth of the key ring and lick ankles in math. She holds a bouquet of clarinets, wearing a lavender herringbone robe and nodding at buckets of soap. Her elbows hold her weight on the sand dune decorated with still wet seashells and teacups half filled with a treacle she pours onto tree roots. The Queen of Atlantis plans where the French and English will meet. The king eats suckling pig and excites the court over soaking his feet. Come on. Oh, come on. All right. a very old one. But before I knew what it was, um, I was writing about
simulacrum.
That's what I was writing about. What was I writing about?
Simulacrum. 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 Simulacrum.
Beautiful. That's what I was writing about. This is called Prostate of the Union. Well, it's been fourscore for you living in the sweet depression, sanctuary of solitude. I laugh behind your back and call you honky with an attitude, 'cause you fool yourself cohabitating in reality, banality, too high on yourself to taste your own mortality. I'd love to slap you, but I'm just too sweet for brutality. My fairy feller friend wallows in his Gen X apathy. He cuts his right hand just to see it bleed. He'll never realize life's more than his own room, you see, 'cause he got soul down the river working from 8 till 3. Little lost soul coasting on puppy dog love, listening to wedding bells and chasing all the doves. Well, friend, open your eyes wide, 'cause the girl screwing in the corner you picked for your bride, too warped with illusions to see that she lied. So go to a party and get your brain cells fried. So now I rolled with the suburban poet god Moses, bought into it all, pricked himself on the roses, thought he was above the hype slang and the scene, woke up one day from his marijuana dream and spent the rest of his youth just trying to keep clean. What a waste, said the sheriff when he arrived at the scene. But her individuality came at a price. Dyed the hair purple and tossed the social dice. Her floodlight parties were a big old smash, but lack of skater pants brought on a backlash. Now she sits there just like wet ash, garbling the words, "Where the hell's my stash?" Now take a look at girlfriend sitting all on her own, got no one to call, don't even got a home, ripping off the talk and copping the look. Be sure to be cool and read all the right books. Dealing with the devils, trying to make some time, ain't got no thoughts, so she tries to leech mine. Sounds like a fool when she calls up and whines. And they'll all spend their lives standing in checkout lines. And they fucking well did. Some of them are anti-vaxxers now. By the way, as I have been saying, hopefully you are getting vaccinated, because as I have been saying, if it is good enough for Jello Biafra and Jack Grisham, it is good enough for you. There are people telling Jack Grisham that he's not punk anymore. Can you fucking imagine telling Jack Grisham that he's no longer a punk? The nerve of some people. This is from Sunrise on the Cana Islands, which is, Jesus, about a decade old now. Hard to believe. This is called Cheltenham Girl. Excuse me for a second. We like doing this one because it is real. By the way, this is an apple. Please observe. This is an apple. All right, Cheltenham Girl. Like a cloud, beautiful sound, standing before the signal. When the light shines on the ground, it reflects off the wheel. Parking lot next to the short building on the edge of the desert. She sees it's harder to be a number when you're just starting out as a visitor. Cheltenham Girl. Clouds can't create the shapes they make or hold onto any rain. Precious, temporary, holding no domain. No machines, no cell phone or computers, clicking through broken links. Credit card, social security needed. She'll refuse to register, and she really will. Cheltenham Girl. Every day, another wish, another mile, closer to the point where I can portray it. Until then, all I'll do is sing to her spirit, and she will return. She will return. This is from the new book, or latest book. It's a few months old now, so calling it the new book's starting to feel a little strange, especially because there's much more on the way. There's a lot of people out there. Intelligence takes many forms, and but really, at this point, what real intelligence is that you have the ability to identify what is and isn't, what is and what is not.
Simulacrum.
Precisely, and that intelligence, like I said, can take many forms. And
simulacrum.
Thank you. and I respect all forms of intelligence, as long as you understand that there is a...
Simulacrum.
Ah, yes. So this is dedicated to Jennifer, wise woman, who got the fuck out. This is called Lazy Angels. Squat woman sealed in a shadow frock, trimmed in white, absence of light, selling stories from her garden that she demands are heard, but is greeted with the silence of the crowd's indifference. She doesn't already know that we can breathe and that we can leave. She can't see that we already could walk through open doors and windows. Counterfeit prophet steals the locks. Illegal son, 0 as 1. Selling pictures of her dinner her guards are obliged to buy, even as her art collection is vanishing, until the walls have nothing left hanging. She doesn't already understand that we can perceive and that we can receive. She can't see that we can paint flowers with any of the colors that we can imagine, and we can imagine each of them. All of them. Their far and distant minds are trails best left behind. Sister to her father stops the drain under a rotting stage, 6-month wage, selling reports carefully whispered in hopes her wealthy relatives will let her sign their wills first. She doesn't already know that we are her, twice as much or more, a complete verse. She can't see the red and gold bird flying right above. She can't see that we are her, twice as much or more. She can't see that she hands her keys to a steed who gallops away, away into the orange rolling hills. Orange rolling hills, orange rolling hills, orange rolling hills. How are we doing out there? Any requests? All right. This is an old favorite. This is a question everyone has to answer for themselves at some point in their lives. This is called Would You Sell the Relics? The general that only cares about tomorrow also expects everyone to echo the same expression, and when the general can no longer see the power of their influence, they try and exert control over any small circumstance under their command. While the brigadier general worries to no one if they need a transfusion, the colonel, who's concerned that not enough people's fingerprints matches theirs, requires a warning on the front page of each report, along with a summary cut together by a subordinate in a matter of minutes so they don't have to waste any energy generating any contradictory thoughts. While the captain enters their coordinates so their location is known and updated every moment, which leaves the captain free to make discoveries like the wheel or gravity, then sell their findings to the executives or campaign staff of their choice, urged by a strong sense of benevolence, a tribute to charity as a force. And the first lieutenant's unmatched love of history is proven by the pictures taken of their parents with Goebbels in Brazil in the 70s, and the second lieutenant's jealousy shows and grouses to one, "That's not Goebbels, it's clear it's Martin Bormann." The sergeant major that reset the standards of esprit de corps doesn't know the panic they'll feel a few short years later when they are urged out of the way, that they'll become stiff with resentment and resolute in their calls for punishment, and institute measures to monitor how the company behaves, while the staff sergeant writes on a photo of themselves, "The future points to you," and daydreams about collecting the remaining virginities from the sorority house down the road, and they already have the names, ages, and weights in a frequently updated database. Then the staff sergeant complains about commercials before content. The chief warrant officer who breaks ranks to research the order the alphabet was created in gets rueful about seeing themselves age and attending charity events, funerals, and hospital visits, seeing their face in the mirror more washed out than before, wondering as they write their their commencement address. Who will even be paying attention in the audience? Drinking from puddles, seeing what the sky says, not being able to read handwriting. As children age receive a small puzzle in the mail. And to the private, it's all an eye roll. And all so boring and shallow to see another round of legacy shut out by an offhand remark. The private doesn't ask any of the officers where they should start. What's the matter where rebellion is kitsch and trauma is Walmart? The specialist greets the private. They each think that the other is a dilettante. And later, the specialist considers, what's the matter where you have 1,000 followers and not a dozen supporters? Would you sell the relics? This is from the most recent book. This is called Parallel Place. Also, this is an apple. As you can see, this is an apple. I live in a parallel place where the land is level, where the streets are bright in the evenings, and I know what tomorrow brings. I live in a parallel place where the wind is cold, where gray-haired men sweep the bandshell and foxes sleep under church bells. I hear all the lank-haired women walking in the morning, their faces shaped by the sun. I live in a parallel place where there's endless electricity with very low voltage, where everyone dies of old age. I live in a parallel place where rain runs into a tunnel, where able-bodied women clear the gutters and dragonflies rise in a slow-motion flutter. I see the able-bodied men hauling fallen branches, their faces shaded by the sun. I live in a parallel place where people speak in peace, where the foreman's spouse greets the mailman in a see-through blouse. I live in a parallel place where the forest faces east, where contracts are written in invisible ink and codes are created with a wink. I see all the people breathing through the day, their faces graced by the sun. Blissful cardinals, blissful infants, blue reflections magnified 10,000 times, blue beams bouncing off aged lenses, radiant artifacts, radiant heirlooms, white sails blistered by the salty sun, white china stacked up in cupboards, shining domes, shining necklaces, green feelings balanced on a yardstick, green parchment weighted down by grapes. How are we doing out there? Okay, good. That's what we like to see. All right. This is called Submerging. My thoughts stop! My muscles go slack. I sink into the gray water. I rise, pick up shells, and see something inside. I see a spotlight bathed in cream, a turtle swimming slowly, and bioluminescent plankton out past the reef. I am not the follower. I have nothing to prepare for. I am not the leader. I've got no form. At this moment, I'm no one's son, except for my father's father's father. My head stays underneath, no new oxygen, but for the time being, I've got everything that I need. I'm not the follower. I've got nothing to wait for. I'm not the leader. I'm just being born. At this moment, I'm no one's son, except from my mother, the clouds, the sun, the land, the water. All is one. All is one. I have come. All is one. Open reach. All is one. To infinity. All is one. Circle soul. All is one. Bird's beak. All is one. Silver seed. All is one. We have come. It's called Remember. Just 200 miles from where I used to live were the lakes and legends. Afternoons crawling the canal, running in circles, scaling fences. Coming home curfewless, lying in bed, stretching your arms out in front of your face, fingers making shapes out of the light. Album covers on the wall next to calendars with modern art. Do you remember when we used to work together? We went to the swimming pool and recorded the kids laughing, splashing around, to use in a sound collage. Those kids are grown up now. We went to the quarry and watched the slabs of rocks being hauled away by trucks. We'd stay and talk until the time silenced our throats. Those rocks are buildings now. Do you remember when we used to work together? We used to never worry about money, only if there was enough to have fun for the week. Sometimes I think we could be there again. The band played No Side to Fall In, and you clapped and sang along. I used the same words the next night, and you said I was wrong. Do you remember when we used to work together? Standing in your mom's house, her pizza cooling in the kitchen, your hair and clothes a ragged curtain, playing your guitar, glorious crystalline shards. You asked me to write a brass score. I figured it couldn't be that hard. Do you remember when we used to work together?
Simulacrum. 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 Simulacrum.
It's called We're Fucked. There's always a better scene. There's always an airlift gala, always a chance to be the superstar you always imagine that you could be. I get up and nothing gets me down. You gotta jump. Nothing treats me better than a ballet soiree. You gotta drink electrical serum to make Atari worth your currency. I believe in the suburbs. I'm a vicarious parasite. I am not John Sway. John Sway was the man of the 90s. Papes called him Buddha. PK called him Sir. I used to call him close personal friend. John Sway parted Times Square as if it was the Red Sea. John Sway was the prodigy of technology. It takes a teenage riot to get me out of bed right now. No big hair! I do not have an imagination. God damn, I only have a vision. Madonna giving head to a water bottle in Truth or Dare. Little Lord Corduroy pissing his pants. And they say R2-D2 was a lesbian. Can't you see me standing here? I got my back against the record machine. Can't you see what I mean? You might as well jump. Thank you. Want to fuck me Deliverance style? And I know, baby, just how you feel. You gotta roll with the punches to fucking get what's real. John Sway doesn't put up with any of that shit. John Sway made Pavlov's dog respond to the sound of lightsabers. I want to fuck Vicky from Small Wonder. She'll give birth to a gigapet. John Sway made the world safe for seam-stitched pants, but he wasn't just looks. He was the man of the 90s. Doesn't that mean something? Mobb Deep called their record Hell on Earth for a reason. Think about it. Dancing as Nazi boot camp. Line dancing as Nazi boot camp. I do not have an imagination. It's fun to lose and to pretend. Kristen. What's that spell? Why it spells propaganda is explanatory fiction, of course. No big pants. I am not. Although now pants. I am not bitter. I am not angry. Oh no, I know a dirty word. I cannot write iambic pentameter, shitty convoluted plot lines sitting on the shoreline. I can only write an end rhyme. But something I just have to say that I learned is the lesson that existentialism is a bore. And after further recollection, the truth is that some people's lives are worth more than others. If you want me to prove that point, I will right now. James Earl Ray or Martin Luther King? Valerie Solanas or Andy Warhol? MDC or John Winston Ono Lennon? Which one would you rather have? I know where I make my choices. I hope you know where you make yours. And all the while, John Sway wondered why people pay $20 to hear glam rock from 1972. Did I spill that on you? John Sway was the man of the 90s, but nonetheless, I digress. I used to chew on razor blades in the days of Miss Pac-Man and spell my name and piss on this fat girl's front lawn. It better work out. I hope it works out my way. Was that you who said that, baby? How you feeling? I don't think about wasting any of my time, and John Sway certainly doesn't. I do not have an imagination. Korea! 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 Manoni is in Tangier stockpiling Tickle Me Elmo dolls. Space Invaders still blips in my mind. The 1984 Utopia. Hey, Ma! I got the high score! Bake me some cookies! Hesitate, you die! In 1984, John Sway discovered Madonna. In 1984, my mother single-handedly revived the Farrah Fawcett haircut. Load up on guns and bring your friends. I do not have an imagination, but good Lord, do I have a vision. John Sway was the man of the 90s. And right along those same lines, shall we?
Simulacrum. 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 Simulacrum.
It's called The Rabbit and the Cowardly Wolf. Who cares? An angry, ingrown sore, spreading red while silently whining. The body? What body? The published excerpts. Her body, a brace of muscle spasms in her right bicep. She'd observed her pet rabbit in its cage and skip past the turn-of-the-century print in her father's office depicting a fox hunt. Just one block away, another rabbit sat in the passenger seat, horribly embarrassed, as the cowardly wolf got a breathalyzer and then failed to walk in a straight line. But back to the unnamed girl. I think it might have been Amanda or Amy. When one's head is round as a bowling ball and smokes their shame, and presses bare-chested on saplings in the spring at dawn for an unobserved tiny tinkle before the roll is called. Clearly mockery is uncalled for and exoneration is at a premium. But we shall not allow for a violation of definitions, especially for one as important to this narrative as Amanda or Amy. No, 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 no! When the rabbit stepped down as the star of his own sitcom to attend to those personal issues there had been so many whispers about, the cowardly wolf suddenly was left without something to watch, emulate, idolize, sneak in a quick jerk during the commercials to, argue with, get enlightened by, surprised by, study, evaluate, grade, rate, review, proselytize on behalf of, display obscure knowledge of, and obviously whinge that it wasn't as good as the early years and that he would know since he was there before whoever he wasn't impressing. But since no other show gave the cowardly wolf the flood of serotonin he craved so restlessly, he grudgingly and pragmatically chose to watch reruns in perpetuity. And why not dress it up a little? Why, it could be revivals or even better, celebrations, a new institution, a part of our shared experience and ongoing mounting heritage. Television was revoked. The rabbit and cowardly wolf decided to intercept their favorite actor's private plane as he touched down at the dullest airport you can imagine. The duo were hilarious to themselves. Is he wearing rayon? It's not like he couldn't afford Ultra Suede. After the actor greeted them with a few quick canned quips, he deftly ink-tuned memories, and upon his departure, the cowardly wolf chided the rabbit about mistaking the actor's autograph for a pictograph. Can you imagine? As they later sat in the 50s diner, their root beers run flat, the jukebox unplugged by the owner. Who was that fighter who won a round without throwing a single punch? It wasn't Willie Pep. Which one are you? Afterthought. Welcoming back Amanda or Amy, he spent his first life as Alexander the Great's chariot. He'd get upset when his action figures didn't eat the cucumber sandwiches he'd made. He'd put down his crayons and say things like, "You're Arnold and I'm Willis." "No, you're Mr. Drummond and I'm Dudley." "Well, I'm Bruce Wayne and you're Commissioner Gordon." "No, you're Dick Grayson and I'm Edward Nygma." "No, you're wrong. I'm Ryan Sandberg and you're Leon Durham." "No, you're Keith Moreland and I'm Rick Sutcliffe." Amanda or Amy, I handed him my ovation, but it wouldn't play. Total silence. He gave it back, and I sounded like Segovia. He tried one more time, and it was like someone had pressed a mute button. "I see that you've just wandered in. Would you like to give an account of yourself?" "The unclean offerings are an example of a permissive society, the long, thin membrane that seems to lead skyward." "You are so well spoken, and none of us would have noticed." Reverse gentrification. The committee smiles, the lead lawyer holding out a pen. The rabbit renews his contract, and his first project is a mystery called If Only You Were Innocent. Photographs, press conference, no disclosed details of the arrangement. He thanked his agent, Marty Weber, with a note and a fruit basket. The rabbit's people punched up the script with gems like, "Son, you're a born fact checker, right down to the letter. I'll sell my secrets because I don't care." And of course, only dogs try to understand things. Meanwhile, the Cowardly Wolf had disappeared for 4 days to investigate a garden. He had wanted to make a biopic about himself, but he couldn't secure the rights. The Rabbit and Cowardly Wolf slumped drunkenly against the back wall of their town, with only the moonlight reflecting off their wine bottle. Neither the Harridan butcher's wife nor the laborer pounding spikes shall feel the rigidity known in the necks like the mechanic's racks that feels nor floats a lodestone on the banks betwixt a bell end and an alarm clock. Do you think it's wrong to contradict yourself? Seasick. Since you are no longer allowed to enjoy a glass of water, the Cowardly Wolf mumbles a roar as that goddamn kid has taken his seat on the train again. Off the rails with that wretched fucking decade. Then the remorse, the introspective post-mortem, the fashion shows, the architecture, the music, the streaming, the media, the technology, indecisive broad gestures, sweeping changes of the subject, conflating placating terminology with warm sentiment. The Cowardly Wolf appears to ignore the news feed. Deeply flawed, archaic, downright prehistoric. Dances over the line of self-parody so often, you start to lose the ability to tell the difference. An obvious, forced version of what he used to do so effortlessly. I really miss Amanda or Amy. The Rabbit and Cowardly Wolf got x-rays together, paw and paw at the clinic. Nothing's broken, they just like the way their jewelry looks against their bones in the photographs. At the ballet, the view from the private box is undisturbed, and the Rabbit relaxes and holds a bucket of carrots. The Cowardly Wolf watches him gnaw, and they bought tickets using pseudonyms and are wearing new suits with contrasting fedoras and little pasted-on beards, reminiscing about those moon over Miami days. We all remember those. Their particular expressions, comfortable expressions of their own particular lifestyles. In between, the Cowardly Wolf yawns, "Must they always?" which the Rabbit doesn't hear, and then the lights go black. A cameo appearance paid for buying time on Cameo for $500 for 20 minutes. The Rabbit bribed a policeman, and the Cowardly Wolf crouched behind a bush, filming it all. And while both are smart enough to accept that this is an inherently artificial medium, they can't stand exposition disguised as dialogue, or arbitrary structural decisions, or the limitations of the budget, or when some exec wants to cast his nephew who just needs a way to break in. Amanda or Amy, I've always had such a high opinion of you. Save your dignity. Don't call the press. Preserve the essence of drama, the command, the show that intermittently ends and begins. This is called Sunset in Trinidad. Ugh. Sunset, but the day's not lost. Sitting under the trees, gazing at the vast expanse. Palm fronds drifting down toward me in the lilting breeze. melted ice in my drink. If you can't remember the past, the same patterns will always last. Sunset, but the day's not lost, starting to slip into sleep and watch my dreams without disbelief. But I drag myself off the beach, through an unseen black and green, and have a late dinner in the canteen. It's weird to think that citizenship is going on 2 years ago now. On one hand, it makes a ton of sense because 2020 was a hell of a year. And I've done a lot of work since then. But it's just funny because it's still with me. So, this is an apple, as we can plainly see. And this poem is called Canary Milk. Sweltering sun in the forecast, but it's raining right now. Retired teens nostalgic for holograms as their granddads watch rocks roll on the ground and wonder when they can be farmers in glass pods on Mars. While Amanda eats factory fresh candies and laughs jaggedly at vulgar stories. The boy who awoke in the toy aisle one evening moved more elegantly than his mother had ever seen as he picked items off a well-worn, well-folded list before deciding he'd rather have a pedal instead. While Amanda watches her neighbors bickering and daydreams the deleted scenes of their pasts. The delivery man is ready for the weekend as he ignores reports on the European heatwave, instead marveling about the new house on his route and how much it must cost each month to keep the swans fed and the water in the lagoon fresh. While Amanda feels no urgency to call back her agency and laughs at people voluntarily photographing their chores. This is from Salt or Light. This is called Physical Copies. Actually, I take that back. I'm not going to do that one just yet. It's coming soon. I'm going to do one before it. This is called Tourist. I can recall it all. I remember, narrowly avoiding the serrated rocks, rain dripping down the mast. I stood and stared. My lungs were cold, made me breathe faster. My leg jumped in time, a sign of my exhilaration. I lost my name. That night, my face changed. I was stronger, much stronger, after I docked. I'd walk by myself. I didn't need to talk. I'd lost the need to talk. I picked a plantain off the tree. I picked a pearl from the conch. Kept some coins, but gave away my paper money. I found a knife on the ground. Saw my reflection in the blade. Nails grown long, and my beard grown scraggly. My hair pinned at the back of my head. I waded off the shore and caught a fish with a sharpened stick. Sliced off the scales, peeled back the skin. I quickly leapt over the sea snakes upon my return. This is called Physical Copies.
Simulacrum. 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 Simulacrum.
Truly. Ah, yes. This is called Physical Copies. Ah, he detached himself years ago. Spent every night this week with his face in his phone. Or making excuses why he cannot come home. What is he looking at for so many hours? Where does he go? What is it that captivates him so? You respect his privacy. You also have the right to know. Maybe he only wants the girlfriend experience instead of the reality. Perhaps he could only cope with false intimacy. Or maybe it just took this long to discover that his natural disposition could easily be described as unpleasantly empty. Maybe in his mind, he's only got 8 months to live. Maybe he's just too afraid to be embarrassed. Or maybe he only cares about his ease of convenience. You figure he can't even remember the memories that you treasure. You catch him glancing at you and wondering if he's recalling something he once heard Mr. Blackwell say. The more hardware, the less personality. What does he spend his money on? All you know is that he never has enough, and he doesn't buy the things he used to show interest in, and he certainly hasn't gotten you a gift in months. He doesn't seem to respond to your new clothes, makeup, or perfume. And then there's the most disconcerting fact when you realize that even the implants won't bring him back. This is called horse. Let's share the silence while everyone's absent. With the electricity out, it's unknown if the edges can be seen. Thin line. Take off your clothes and find out if you're fucking purple. Supine. Time to get reserved by disengaged, dreary people. I'm optimistic enough to whisper in your ear, vanish into the walls, and watch you walk to the chair. Let's share the silence, test the power of my stare and the limits of your willingness, then pretend we're unaware when you stand in front of the mirror and all the stringent reasons why you're really here. I'm clear enough to stand near the back, not against your thigh, to avoid glancing at your eyes. Let's share the silence, ease into your patience, measuring what each instant takes seconds after the temperature breaks, and staying anxiously awake, while the next 7 minutes are advanced into minute facets, slipping across conjoined elements. I'm open enough to adjust the embryo window, your tight spine, your consent, the tension kept sacrosanct. We had a gigantic outage yesterday. So thank goodness it didn't happen today. This is called Fingerhouse. Where should I go? Empty and without suggestion. Dry bathtub, antiseptic self. Turquoise pottery, carefully washed. Not included in collection debates and can catalog itself. A black and white television crackling on the last analog signal, transmitting drip brush pixelation to friends who have never met before dawn, with unbent antennas and tinfoil knobs. No larger connection and no network without notice or critical thought. Pure broadcast. Where should I go? To a cricket's lake where Mona Lisa and George Washington's faces urgently run by on filmy soap transfers until they burst into digital diagonal scribbles that shock sleeping bluebirds and hunting robins, where austere diagrams of skeletons are traced into colored chalk onto trees and oil sticks litter the walkways, where oysters recover jewelry fallen overboard and forgotten, where flashlights find glimpses into windows and fluoride is poured into jugs of cola. Where should I go? with a shopping bag full of batteries, returning a stolen bike to its parent company, walking in between unclean delivery trucks in need of repair, while raw-toned steel whistle air floats on wisps of strawberry hair, and accelerated voices in nonsensical 10-second annoyances, a magician perfecting an illusion which ends with them curling up and sliding down a tree, then pretending to be asleep while assessing what the crowd seems to think. Then a throne is carried on, seating a man in a parchment crown and wrapped in beach towels. Where should I go? Into a kitchen with aluminum knives and nurses in white lab coats and blue rubber gloves, rolls of tissue paper and unfolded t-shirts and personalized engraved nameplates. Where should I go? Knees to the chest, laying on the cool ground, scissors, heels pressed together, toes toward the sun, back to the cool ground. This is called Indie Sequins. Through the missing bricks, you can see a banquet table with a candelabra crooked from water-falling wax. On the other side of the missing bricks is a tablecloth with faintly gray claw stains left by mourning doves. Through the missing bricks there is a banquet table, heaving with indentations from apples, persimmons, cantaloupes, and pears. On the other side of the missing bricks there is a deer walking in the distance, while a finger painting floats to the ground. Through the missing bricks there is a banquet table, with unopened telegrams and sturdy silver trays stacked with books about the Enlightenment. On the other side of the missing bricks there is a pebble garden placed on a tree branch next to a mortar and pestle. Through the missing bricks there is a banquet table, lined along the bottom right edge with bowls of cold dandelion soup. Seated 45 degrees away from the banquet table is a man with a salt and pepper waxed mustache humming waltzes and complaining about the distortions of sounds and colors. 124 years old, and he doesn't know that electric blue can be beautiful too. This is called 3% Profit. Waking up to the sun-soaked world in the eyes of a diamond, stretching out from a full circle, I was at a recital resting on a bed of feathers and then floated to the front of the festivities. A Mercury step leaped through the lake and landed in a leafy soft meadow, my legs a blurring winding wheel. My mom and dad hold out boxes. They walk together to an airplane, then climb up and run across the wings. But soon it's nice and quiet for me, as we can plainly see. I tied a string around an anteater, as we can plainly see. The newspaper says it's better to have metal teeth, as we can plainly see. But I would rather bathe in butter, as we can plainly see. I nicked a little bit of a hammer and nail on my way onto the helicopter. What I knew of physics sped up my entrance. Never seen the sky be so brave and wide, or thought about the joy in watermelons. And when I carefully left the step stool and went into the underground ice tunnel, I ran across a humidifier so the motor could keep my feet warm and not get harmed by frostbite. This is an apple, as we can plainly see. My eyes hide behind a pregnant woman's stomach while a laser rings into my ears. I try to open a case of sewing supplies, but to my surprise, the latch is banded shut. I breathe yellowed air and drink bubbling water and play with friends who live in the shower. I put a cold stream of thoughts in a brown paper bag and wonder where I can tap the telephone. I freeze my face in photos so that I'm not recognized while I page through my scrapbooks. The bugs in the cracks decline my invitations to dance, so therefore they're unwanted. I hiss into the sink until they crawl back so that my party can stay filled with levity and not too much gravity. So I paste my Polaroids all over the walls in geometric patterns and steal some dinner from my next-door neighbors, as it's their fault for having given me a key. My sleeves festooned with pins and wind chimes dangle and jangle, thus announcing my arrival, a curl in the best nest with an arm that won't do you harm. an idol vibrating on a whirring appliance, as we can plainly see. This is an apple, as we can plainly see, and soon I'm ready to eat. Nothing moving suddenly, as we can plainly see, and even sooner still time to sleep. Here's to a night of pleasant dreams, as we can plainly see.
Simulacrum. 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 Simulacrum.
I run into the weirdest technical problem. It is so strange, and it's not even worth recounting, but it always amazes me that it is a problem. All right. Strange stuff. It's called Jade. Winter went without finale. One brain with seagull emeralds and a chop of jade, thicker than my wrist. Glancing became the transmission, like a doorbell whistling in a veterans parade. So behind the minute hand extends more than obligation and demands more than devotion. Passion is 10,000 tiny cuts so untraceable they dye emotions without ever gracing the surface. Lightning travels celebrations and standing full face toward the stark light and thin wire sword play. Who's been saying in this bed? No one, without articulation, tempo, and psychic extrapolative hysterics. At the break, I am pacing, ignorant to stillness, shattering shins, pushing flagpoles out of the fields, locking engines to mortar, and blushing with inevitable glory leave. And this is called the Tide. This is the brother to the sister or the sister to the brother, depending on how you want to keep score. This is called the Tide. This is an apple. This is the tide. Swimming through the rising tide, eyes, 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 eyes. God bless each and every one of you. Kura Kura, Dian, Momo, Gio, Nyan, Jungyan, Sana, Sui, Sheyung, and Ballerina Mina, sweetly shining Mina. God bless each and every one of you. Yes, Eve, on the limestone magical entrance. Taste of love. Kura Kura. Magic. The wind stormed around the asthma liquids and flying cost of yen. The fur was melting in an envelope. Lime green irises bobbing in the water. Trying to pry through the quarantine line, topics of conversation overheard, rusting park, yellow shoots, and chipped lacquer, birds landing on Mount Fuji. A dulcimer was plucked, floodneck papers rising and collected. Outside, crisp rings of flickering crossing change. Numbers assigned in a fetal hotel, slow motion time to diagonal lights and backward directionals. Ceremonial silver displayed, cold crux of current torn by rain, and smog filling ditches, spear thrown into the branch, limestone posts built on the marsh. Letters sent with smeared ink, walking through masks for photographs. The motorcade wasn't noticed. Flipped cigarette, punctured wrist. The tide stretched over itself. Magic.
Simulacrum. 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 Simulacrum.
Silver Peppermill whispers to the hammer that she's an airport. And though she never really shows anybody, I still know for a fact that she's an airport. If you stop at her coffee shop, she'll charge you extra for a plastic top. The well-water ice cubes have heard this tale told before, but she's an airport. A zebra's chewing gum can confirm the reports that she's an airport. If you take off your shoes after the security stop, she'll throw them in the air and they'll land in the baggage cart. Run down the runway into the center of the day where the sun is pointing down to the ground. Reach all the way down to touch your toes and remember a story that you'll want to pass along someday. Run down the runway into the center of the day where the sun is pointing to the ground. Reach all the way down to touch your toes and remember a story you'll want to pass along someday. Cessna tropria dina reta siam raf delif hitun rax sklats retam sainak irak kath ganinip sevet kelfer selbuab. She's an airport and her father is a farm filled with corn stalks. Her mother is a candy factory spinning reflective baubles. If I could implicate, if I could talk to you, I will some more. And just like in today's world of opinion and denunciation and admirable like in pictures and friendliness and outward inliness, maybe I'm on the thrust of that. She dreamed she was a train draped in robin's egg lace. She couldn't keep still in one place. She dreamed she was the only train running on the 4th of July, filled with whipped cream to burst and streamers to fly. She dreamed she was a train running past the impound lot, and after every platform on the route she'd whisper, "I still love Phil. I still love Phil. I still love Phil. I still love Phil. I always have. To know him is to love him, and to know him through his art was the single most profound way of knowing him possible." She was sad when they closed the gates at night. She dreamed she was a train filled with die-cast metal engines and cowboy hats, ordered by the civil rights workers' favorite daughter. She dreamed she was a train and her earrings were flashing orange lights. She waves hello to the one car she'd stopped at the tiny suburban crossing. A train to get the tracks loose and rattling. Rattling tracks reminds her of those aunts and uncles talking loudly over each other at her grandma's birthday, making sounds trying to keep their dentures stuck in place. Rattling tracks reminds her of those aunts and uncles talking over each other at her grandma's birthday. 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 Birthday! This is called Rubber Buttons. Needs to be kept simmering and the time should flow slowly and quietly. Let's go! Right? Right. Let's go. We're going, we're going, we're going. My shoelaces are undone, which means someone likes me as much as I love to see a basket of swinging snowflakes. My shoelaces are undone, so I throw them next to a trunk full of styrofoam tongues on the person who brought them yells, "Thank you!" The first person in the castle has the obvious advantage if they wish to scrape their fingernails against empty old windows. They can concentrate vacantly while being unfailingly polite and insisting their hands are made of the same sand as found outside on the beach. They know there is no joy in failure for their friends, that the fun and restoration happens once the work is done. The second person in the castle has obvious scenes of boldly seizing treasure only they can see through a fizzing camera lens. They can research quietly while having no qualms about their ambition outstripping their abilities and assessing gaudy antiques. They know there is no lemon rich enough in sourness to let their taste get challenged into swallowing insects in soiled tents. The third person in the castle has the obvious edge when turning their profile to face the east end in hopes of repairing a table leg. They can dutifully saw and sweep the dust into the bin until the bell sounds for them to begin slicing vegetables out in the kitchen. They know there is no creek deep enough to keep them from molding jellies into a series of perfectly semi-translucent wedges. I want breast buttons for my cousin. Because I could not count for cufflinks, they counted for me. Because I could not look for light bulbs, they looked for me. Because I could not dance for diamonds, they danced for me. They realize the chateau has the clear advantage as the place to evaluate flashy antiques. I want brass buttons for my cousin, but I make the rubber buttons I wear for myself. While I sew, I look at the library and remember each of my most memorable finds. I want brass buttons for my cousin, but I make the rubber buttons I wear on my jacket. I buy the materials from the tan-toothed man who sold my mom a gold wishing box. I want brass buttons for my cousin because when I preach with the collar, he preaches with me. I want brass buttons for my cousin because when I move with the minnows, they move with me. They realize the chateau has the clear advantage when you're evaluating flashy antiques. Let's go! That's all right. My shoelaces are undone, so I only walk sideways and photograph a purple plum terracotta planter with a flag with a price tag sticking out of it. Oh, it's hard to know. My shoelaces are undone, which means someone likes me as much as I love wearing an apricot ascot while hearing stories about Korean camping sites. The first person in the tower can brighten their senses by energetically exchanging sunglasses and hairstyles once safely ensconced up at the top. They can cheerfully sing along with anything, though they prefer Caruso and ragtime, the songs they don't know. There is usually a fixed point in the distance for them to focus on things such as a helicopter or hawk taking off shortly after dawn. The second person in the tower can loudly shout, "How I love my girl!" which echoes back so overwhelmingly they can think that they are in a private booth. They can detect the scent of her shampoo in the wind and look down and see her looking up and running towards them. There is normally an iron staircase nailed in 40 years ago, which serves as the one modern addition to the edifice. The third person in the tower can tell endless jokes over dinner about the rabbits they saw nipping chocolate from their mother's open purses. They can wear a lei around their necks which contrasts sharply with their pinstripe sport coat and tartan flat cap. There is always a sauna where they can fall asleep underneath a slippery painting of their father, all dressed up as a captain. My shoelaces are undone. They lay underneath the warmth of the sun. This is a true depiction recited with excellent diction. Let's go. And now I recall other memories. From walking around the castle, the humidity kept at bay, clouds letting loose only hints of rain, and vines intertwining across each other, and each new flower that blooms another gift for the dozens of bees in love with the newness of June. It's all on top of my eyes. The curious sage in an orange and brown dashiki, standing before a statue of the stripped Christ, arms open and hovering. All on top of my eyes. All on top of my eyes. You don't like crazy music. You don't like rockin' bands. You just want to go to a movie show. Sit there holding hands. You're so square. Oh, baby, I don't care. I don't know why my heart flips. I only know it does. I wonder why I love you, baby. I guess it's just because you're so square. Oh, baby, I don't care. You don't know any dance steps that I do. I only know I can do. I don't know why my heart flips. I only know it does. I wonder why I love you, baby. I guess it's just because you're so square. Oh, baby, I don't care. Oh, baby, I don't care. Oh, baby, I don't care. I care. I care. I care. I care. All on top of my eyes, lithium batteries in between her teeth. She holds a screwdriver dipped in green paint as she walks over underground cables. All on top of my eyes, she staves off headaches with gallons of water and sleeping when she can. All on top of my eyes, the swells of excitement are just one continued drone. Close concert of ideas. Stretching fingers. You did a great job today. Devoted. Seriously. All on top of my eyes. One wonder. One today. This called Dance the Night Away. A blue wave sprayed gently onto the window. It remained an unfaded crescent reaching over the rooftop. Birds flew through untethered. Droplets yawned in sonorous applause. The shape succumbed, giving way by matching passing movements, as when water splashes in the sky. A maypole stands unraveled, while a sunfish kisses a butterfly. The fences were then a canvas, soaked tissue paper sprung over electrical wires, fragile forktails freshly shaven as bronze tiger beetles glanced up at the heavens. Dance the night away! And that, folks, is another exciting edition of the Quarantine Stream. We hope that you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. We also hope that you enjoyed our lovely opening acts, Wow Beautiful and Stickers. They love doing what they do. By the grace of God, we will be back next week. I'm fairly certain that we will be. Let us hear the Quarantine Stream theme one more time, shall we? Oh my God, you bastard. Beautiful. All right, folks. Until then, like I said, by the grace of God, we will be back next week. I assume that we will be. Anyway, until then, stay safe, stay smart. Here's the important part. In all seriousness, stay free, because you already are. Got that? Yes. All right, folks. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, hopefully we will be back next week. So, all right, everyone. Until then, bye.